Hi, I'm Robert Stupka, your BC Green Party candidate for the Kelowna West by-election. I hope to earn your vote to become your next MLA. Many people are concerned with Alberta's ban on BC wine. Understandably, this has negative impacts on a very important Okanagan industry. However, it's important for British Columbians to understand that Ms. Notley's actions are disproportionate with what BC is asking for and completely unrelated to the issue of pipelines. The issue from the response that the BC Liberals have made is in fact irresponsible and falls in the hands of the Alberta NDP desperately trying to get re-elected. What all political parties in BC should be doing is defending BC's economy and the environment it depends on. I have lived in Burnaby North, the terminus of the Kinder Morgan pipeline, and in Kelowna, the target of Alberta's wine ban. I know that in Kelowna, the lake is extremely important to our economy and agriculture. This is why we proactively try to protect it from zebra mussels and would not support any project that would put its water supply and tourism at risk. For the wine industry, this would have catastrophic consequences and be unacceptable. The issue of the Kinder Morgan pipeline, however, has nothing to do with BC wine and Alberta oil. It has to do with shipping diluted bitumen through BC, for which very few jobs and little economic benefit will occur, while risking BC's coast, one of Canada's major cities, and the largest sectors of BC's economy that are dependent on a pristine environment. The consequences of the spill are catastrophic on a far greater scale. The question British Columbians should ask is if the benefit from the pipeline outweighs the risks to BC's economy. John Horgan has asked for an independent scientific review panel to look into spill response of diluted bitumen. This request is entirely reasonable and necessary to defend BC's economy. It is baffling that BC Liberals are not willing to do the same. Diluted bitumen behaves completely differently from refined oil, and there's no proven way to clean it up. We also know that Kinder Morgan's plan was dependent on 20 hours of sunlight. This does not exist anywhere south of Tuktoyaktuk. The National Energy Board process through which the Kinder Morgan pipeline was approved has been characterized as rigged by many and even admitted to be flawed by the Trudeau government. In 2015, Trudeau said an overhaul of the National Energy Board process would be applied to the project. It is not. A modified process has been applied to the Energy East pipeline, and a new process has now been proposed. It is reasonable, given these circumstances, that changes to the process will be made to provide credibility to the assessment of the Kinder Morgan pipeline. As a conduit for shipping raw bitumen, this project provides little benefit to British Columbians or Canadians. The raw product could starve Burnaby's Chevron refinery, as the product would get higher prices overseas in Asian markets. Perversely, it is actually shipping jobs overseas and requiring Canada to import the refined product we are literally giving away. Troubling still is the use of automation in the oil sands, which is basically ripping out the oil out of the ground as quickly as possible with as few jobs as possible. If the pipeline were actually a project in the national best interest, it should be to supply useful petroleum products created with Canadian jobs to Canadian environmental standards to Canada and abroad. A credible spill response plan should be in place, and the cost of a spill should not be borne on Canadian taxpayers. Furthermore, Trudeau needs to be honest to investors about the expected operational life of the pipeline. Canada has had 20 years without a credible climate action plan, constantly coming up with hot air. The latest Paris climate commitments are not aligned with the amount of fossil fuel projects and pipeline capacity Trudeau has approved. Even with those projects, Trudeau could not have predicted Trump approved the Keystone XL pipeline. Investors need to know what Canada's carbon budget is for the oil sands expansion, or risk investing in stranded assets. Simply, both Trudeau and Kinder Morgan need to be truthful about the project life and business case. It's not a question of if or when a spill occurs. Shipping raw bitumen is completely different than shipping refined petroleum products. Currently, there's zero credibility in the process by which Kinder Morgan was assessed and spill response. There is no effective way to clean up a spill. British Columbians need not fall into the trap of Notley's political games as the BC Liberals have. They should expect BC and the federal government to defend BC's entire economy and do what the Canadian Chamber of Commerce recommends. Ensure that a fair and scientifically sound decision on the Trans Mountain pipeline is carried out. In the meantime, I invite you to enjoy a glass of BC wine and encourage your friends to do the same.